What's up, guys? It's another Music Gear Monday. I'm Carl Carell, and today is going to be short and simple. It's going to be how to create a MIDI instrument inside of Ableton and use software instruments. Let's hop into it. So when you open Ableton, you're a session view here, and up in the top right, you have these two buttons. You click on this button and you have your arrangement view here. Either way, there's no right answer. Either one of these windows. Don't get too caught up in which window to use here. I'm going to start in this window in our session view just to simplify, but I'll show you in both. We're going to right click or click with two fingers on a Mac, and it gives us this little pop-up. Right now we want to do insert MIDI track, and you see the shortcut is up Command and T on Mac if you want to use that shortcut to insert your MIDI track. So there we have a MIDI track. This MIDI track is crucial for using any MIDI instruments. If we go up here and click on our window icon to get to our arrangement view, you could see that same MIDI track. If you click on the sidebar here, right click, you get that same drop down menu. And so from here, I could do it again, insert MIDI track. Now we have two MIDI tracks. This sidebar over here, this is going to be where you search all of your instruments, all of your plugins, all of your favorites. We're going to go back in here and we're going to open up this search panel. In the search panel, you have categories. We're going to click on instruments. So like over here, you have drums, you have instruments, you have sounds. This categories is what comes in Ableton typically. And these instruments and drums are your MIDI instruments. If we go to drums and we find a drum in here, we're just going to grab a kit and we're going to drag it over to one of our MIDI tracks. So I drag this 909 kit over to track 2 that we had, and maybe I'll drag this abuse kit over to MIDI track 3. And you can see both of these kits are now labeled on each one of these tracks. And you can see when I click on each track, it gives me the parameters in the bottom of each drum machine or MIDI instrument. So both of these are drums, and say, okay, I don't want 2 drum tracks right now. Maybe I want an instrument. We're going to click on instruments over here in the left search bar over here, and then we're going to go to electric instruments and we're going to find basic piano keys, and we're going to drop that in there. So now it's changed to piano keys. So now we have a piano keys and we have a 909 drum kit. Before we could start recording any MIDI, we need to figure out how we're going to manipulate that MIDI inside of the computer. And there's a couple ways to do it. One way is to use your mouse. And so in order to do that, I'll have to create a blank section of MIDI. And you can see by just hitting record, it added a section that I could then start writing notes in and manipulating this instrument. So I can then start drawing in some different notes for this thing to play, and it will play those. And so if I hit play, you can hear that it plays these notes. Inside of this region, you have these bars where you can shorten or lengthen this region. Right now, I have a 4-bar loop. 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. I can use my pencil tool and also my selector tool to create different chords and whatnot in this 4-bar region. We can also look at this arrangement window as well. So if we wanted to record that, same thing, once you hit record, it's going to create a region. So you could do the same thing. I can go up here, click on my pencil tool. I can start drawing in notes. It's going to play those notes. And then I can copy and paste that. The one thing with the arrangement view is that you can chop everything down into smaller regions and then copy and paste those regions. I copy, paste, so Command C and Command V where I want it, or just Command D to duplicate it. And then that's going to create these MIDI sections. So that's how to create MIDI. And if you want to create MIDI not using the mouse, you can also use your laptop keys. So I can go up here and go to options. I can select computer MIDI keyboard. You can use your MIDI keys on your laptop, or you can get a MIDI controller, which looks kind of like this. And when you plug your MIDI controller in via USB, that's going to control the software instruments inside of your program like Ableton. Okay, now that we got our MIDI controller plugged in, we are going to record some chords on this piano track. And to do that, we're going to need the metronome, and that's going to be up next to your BPM and next to your time signature. You can click your metronome on, and if you click it on, it turns yellow, and if you hit the space bar, you can hear it run. Or if you hit play up here, you can hear your metronome run. If you're in the arrangement view, if you hit play, you can see your playhead, which is this bar right here. You can see that going by all of the different bars. What I'm going to do is make a loop, and we're going to do that inside of this session view. Right now I have it on a 1-bar count in. Okay, and so I played that loop, and then I hit stop on my space bar. We have control of our region down here by clicking this little arrow and sliding the end of our region to wherever we want it to. So let's make this a 16-bar loop. We could right click and go crop. That's going to make it a 16-bar loop. And that loop will keep playing inside of our session view. We can make loops, and the loops will keep playing, then start adding to our session here. So I can go into this drum instrument, and I could start playing something. Okay, and then you could see there's our 16-bar loop. Let's go ahead and just keep 16-bar loops going. And once we don't need the metronome anymore, we could turn that off, and now we just have our instruments. The thing that is great about Session View is that if you right click up here under this master, you can start creating scenes. So I can duplicate this scene right here. This then becomes a progression. So like I have my first scene. Oh, and you got to watch out for this BPM over here. The default is set to 120, but you can always change that. You could change this to the session BPM. So we have that progression, and what we could do is add something to this second progression. So we can go in here and we can add maybe a snare, or maybe we want to add this rim right here. Maybe we want to add that. And you can hear that it's a little off because it's kind of on a swing. So what we could do is we can quantize these by selecting all of these notes and then right clicking quantize, or Command U quantize. That should. And you can see your quantize settings by going quantize settings. Maybe we want it a little tighter, and you can adjust the amount. Same thing, if we wanted to maybe tighten up that piano to be more on the 1, we can quantize it. And those are our different scenes. We have scene 1, and then if you want, you can start adding stuff. We can add another MIDI instrument. So maybe we want to add a bass. double click on this loop that we created. Let's take this progression down to 16. You can leave it, if you wanted to leave it at a 32 bar progression, you can. It just depends on what you're writing. But for me, let's just make it simple and let's just crop this. Let's just make it a simple little bass line. And you can keep adding stuff. So we could duplicate that, Command D, and we can go in and we can add maybe a hi-hat if we wanted to. If we wanted to start adding, more percussion or whatever we want to do. We could start adding stuff in here. And so that's in our session window. If we want to take these MIDI instruments and these MIDI recordings and start making a arrangement with them, what we could do is once we hit record on this side here, and that's the other thing I guess I didn't say is in each one of these lanes, there's this little circle button. And the little circle button means to record. So if I hit that circle button, that means it's going to record inside of this lane. It's going to record a MIDI region if I hit this record button. And this square over here is a stop button, and so that stops anything in this lane from recording. So if I insert a new scene and I have this previous scene playing, scene 3, once I hit that square button, it stops that piano from playing. Same thing with the drums. So we're going to record this MIDI into the session view. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with 1. We're going to make sure our first group is going to trigger. We're going to hit record. It's going to give us our 1-bar countdown. And what it's going to do is start recording inside of this session window. And what we could do is go through our progression here. Now it's adding to our progression. Got our hats. And then you can use this square down here to stop it when you're done. So that is recorded now then to our session view. And you can see icons right here. Our session view is recording and it's not active yet, so you're not going to hear the playback until you actually activate them by clicking these little icons here. So now we have each region of progression that we've created. And there we can start kind of creating our song in this session view however we want to. Shout out to our sponsors today, Crate Connect Digital Record Pool, providing tons of new music, new releases, hundreds of different genres and chart-topping hits, everything and anything, instrumentals, acapellas, Latin, moombahton, techno, dance hall, even country music. So if you're a DJ and you want to spruce up your music library, this is a great tool to utilize. The price is just right with different options from 30 days, 90 days, and 180 days with high resolution audio. This is a great option for anybody wanting to expand their DJ library. They even have a clothing shop. This one's my favorite. Make sure to hop on over, check out Crate Connect. I will be putting a link in the description below, which will include a discounted price. So make sure to hop on that while it lasts. So that is it for today's Music Gear Monday. Hopefully that helps you guys kind of hop in and get started with MIDI in Ableton. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments below. I'll be back again soon with some more Ableton Live tips. We'll also be looking at some other programs, diving into Serato Studio again in the next month or so. So make sure to check that out. And I also just downloaded a really cool app that was sent to me, so we're going to cover that as well in another episode, maybe a short. So stay tuned. That's it for Music Gear Monday this week. We'll catch you guys here next week. Peace.